Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
We've just lost 90% of our young audience out there. Who's Susan Lucci? I don't know why they're an old lady voice, but anyways.
And he'd be like, yeah, exactly.
You can all you want. You agree to disagree.
Disney fight.
See, two dudes talking about Disney. Oh.
So many viewers. We just lost so many.
Hey, I'm Mike Field.
And I'm Mike Butler.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it's because a more popular movie was released at the same time or the movie simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie or perhaps don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And hello, we begin. It's not that. That's not that type of podcast. Oh, actually, it is. I take it back because we are. Well, I don't know what I'm doing here. We are doing The Frighteners.
Oh yeah,
excellent. The Frighteners was released on Friday, July 19th, 1996. I was a whole 21 years old.
I was 9.
Wow, I'm old. Good times back then. Good times. At a runtime of 110 minutes, it was rated R for terror and violence, I think. Language and terror. Some terror and violence, which is ridiculous. So rated R had a production budget of $30 million. Opening weekend, it did $5.5 million. Domestic, $16 million. And worldwide, $29 million. So not a hit. Not a hit, but a hit in our hearts, Butler.
Absolutely. I'm surprised it made so much. I mean, obviously, Peter Jackson's a bigger deal probably in New Zealand, but I'm surprised it made so much more overseas because 1996, a lot of the movies we look at in the 90s don't really make that much worldwide, like almost like double the money.
I guess. I mean, obviously this was shot in New Zealand and Peter Jackson, this is pre Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson. This is post Dead Alive and Brain Dead and Meet the Feebles, which I love that movie. I shouldn't. It's terrible, but I love it. So, like I said, this came out on the 19th of July, 1996, so right smack dab in the summer, the same day as Multiplicity, the Michael Keaton comedy where he clones himself, which is also a really good movie.
I like that one a lot, yeah.
I love pizza. All right, Fled. The movie Fled, Kazam, and Trainspotting in a limited run. If you have not seen Trainspotting, please do. It's very good. And we both of us have still yet to see the sequel, which is ridiculous.
I think it's now streaming somewhere.
Well, it's because honestly, that might have to be on the podcast because the only way I watch movies is now is if it's through the podcast. We're too busy. The week before this movie came out, so the 12th of July, we had Courage Under Fire with Matt Damon, thin Matt Damon, liver damaged Matt Damon, right? Didn't he or kidney damaged or something like that?
Oh, I didn't know.
He got really thin for the role because it's about, no, wait a minute. No, it's about Courage Under Fire. Denzel Washington's investigating the death, Meg Ryan's character, and she had saved Matt Damon's character in some fight. Yep. Yeah, it's based on a true story, but he got really thin for the role, and I always heard that he damaged something inside.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Because he just got super thin. Harriet the Spy was the same day. This is the 12th we're talking, and Walking and Talking was in between on the Wednesday. That's an indie. The week before this, which is probably why a lot of the movies suffered after, was the July 3rd was Independence Day, the ID 4. So that was a big hit.
Yeah, they were definitely not suffering after Independence Day 2. I'll tell you that.
No. And after Independence Day 2, the wake was clear. On the 26th of July, this is the week after The Frighteners, you had A Time to Kill, which came actually on the Wednesday, which is the Matthew McConaughey movie based on the John Grisham novel. Mm-hmm. Kingpin, that's the Farrelly Brothers movie, which is actually pretty funny. The Adventures of Pinocchio, which probably nobody saw. Joe's Apartment.
I love Joe's Apartment. Love Joe's Apartment. I know you don't like it, but
it's okay. And Super Cop, the Jackie Chan movie. I think this is when Jackie Chan was like really big. Like he was like, when was Rush Hour?
I think 95. I think
this is
94,
like
95. So
we're smack dab in the middle of the Jackie Chan fever, I guess.
Yep.
As we said before, directed by Peter Jackson. I just said the bunch of the movies that he did. He won the Oscar for Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King, but it was basically an Oscar for all three.
Yeah.
He also directed Heavenly Creatures. That's actually his first big movie that stars Kate Winslet. And I'm going to blank on her name because she's actually in this movie. Melanie Linsky. She's also in Heavenly Creatures, but she actually has I'll go to it later. She's at a small scene in here. Not a small scene, but like you see her. Anyways, written by Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh. Fran Walsh has written a bunch of stuff with Jackson, Heavenly Creatures, The Lovely Bones, Hobbit. She won an Oscar for Lord of the Rings as well. Peter Jackson wrote all those. Plus, I think he wrote some of the story for Mortal Engines. Music by Danny Elfman, who I love. And Danny Elfman does the Batman theme, the original Batman theme from Michael Keaton's Batman. Mm-hmm. Most of Tim Burton's stuff. So he's done a ton of stuff. I've listed some stuff maybe you did not know he did, like Summer School, Back to School, and Midnight Run. Do you remember the Back to School theme?
Yes, I didn't know he did Midnight Run.
Oh yeah. He is everywhere. Cinematography by John Blick, who was doing the cinematography, and I take it back. He took over for Alan Bollinger because Bollinger got injured while making this movie. So John Blick came in and kind of finished up, but this is really only his biggest credit. Bollinger has done Heavenly Creatures, White Lies, and The Stolen. And again, produced by Peter Jackson and his partner, Jamie Selkirk. But Selkirk is also an editor mostly. So he actually won an Oscar for editing Lord of the Rings, but he was a producer on this movie. I believe he edited it. I should have looked that up. So run through the cast, starring Michael J. Fox as Frank Bannister. Everyone knows who Michael J. Fox is, right?
Who?
Exactly. Trini Alvarado as Lucy Linsky. She was in the 1990s version of Little Women, The Babe, and The Perez Family. She doesn't do much now. I think she's a homebody. Yeah, I think she doesn't, I don't know, need to.
Yeah.
So, Peter Dobson as Ray Linsky. He was in Forrest Gump, Pool Hall Junkies, and Drowning Mona. Jeffrey Combs as Milton Dammers. Jeffrey Combs is well known in the horror world. He was Reanimator. He was also in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and Fear.com. I've tried to pick movies that were maybe more mainstream that people might know of him.
He's also done a ton of Star Trek.
Of course. So he is, if you know horror, then you know Jeffrey Combs. If you don't know horror, you might not know Jeffrey Combs.
He's also a big time voice actor.
Yeah.
If you watched any cartoons in the 90s or today, you've heard his voice.
Yeah. Dee Wallace as Patricia Bradley. Dee Wallace was the mother in E.T. She's also in The Howling, Cujo, and more recently 3 from Hell. Jake Busey as Johnny Bartlett. He's in Contact, Starship Troopers, The Predator, and Identity, which is one of the movies that we might do at some point down the road, right?
I believe so. He's also in Home Fries, which I never asked you. Do you like Home Fries? Because I really like Home Fries.
Like eating Home Fries?
The movie Home
No,
Fries.
I don't like Home Fries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what Drew Barrymore and,
Yes.
and Jake, not Jake, one of the Wilson brothers.
Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson.
Yeah.
No, I
hadn't seen it in a while, but when I was looking through his IMDb, I was like, oh, Home Fries. I remember really liking Home Fries.
I remember not liking it. I mean, we can always toss it in here if you want to fight about it. Shy McBride as Cyrus from Gone in 60 Seconds, I, Robot. But Shy McBride is in one of my favorite TV shows that never got it's Just Desserts, and that's pun intended, for Pushing Daisies. Did you ever see Pushing Daisies?
Yeah, I watched it.
It's so good. He has one of my favorite lines in that movie when he hits somebody with a shovel and he's like, "I love you, shovel." I love that. I don't know. He's really good. He's also in that Boston Legal show, which
he
was
is in
a
Boston.
couple. Yeah,
he was the principal.
He was. John Astin as the judge. I hope people know who John Astin is. He's from the Addams Family, original Addams Family TV show, Teen Wolf 2. He played the dean, right? And Teen Wolf 2?
I never saw Teen Wolf 2.
That's unacceptable. If you saw Teen Wolf, you needed to see Teen Wolf 2.
Is it as good as Teen Wolf 1? Because
I'm not going to sit here and say it is, but it's Jason Bateman. I mean, I don't know why you're not watching it. And then he was in the 70s Freaky Friday. Jim Fife as Stewart. Now, I have him in here because he's in the X-Files. He plays in The Lone Gunman, too. He played one of their friends who was like the super conspiracy nerd.
Yeah, he played, crap.
I couldn't find his name. I just noticed. I remember I saw his picture and I was like, oh, I remember him.
He's got 2 names. It's Jimmy the Geek when it starts, and then he becomes Kimmy the Geek later on in the show. He becomes he transitions into a woman.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
I don't remember. Was that on The Lone Gunman?
No, that was in.
He's in The Lone Gunman show.
Yes. So he becomes Kimmy on The Lone Gunman, but then he comes back as Kimmy in another episode of the X-Files.
Okay. Right.
Welcome to the X-Files podcast.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm okay with doing an X-Files podcast.
My wife and I rewatched them, I think 2 summers ago, and it took us because that's right. We rewatched it leading up to the new revival, and it took us, but we were fine. It was really cool going back.
Oh yeah. I was watching a bunch with Elise. We got through season 3, I think.
Oh man, you got to keep going.
Oh yeah.
Arlie Ermy as Hiles, Full Metal Jacket, 7, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2003 version, and Troy Evans as Sheriff Perry I have him on here because I watch Bosch on TV and he's on that, and I think he's funny. And then he's also in Near Dark, an episode we did.
Yes, he is.
He
plays the sheriff in just about everything.
He has he has a certain, so he plays a cop on Bosch, but he has a unique skill set that works fine.
Yes,
and he's got a dry sense of humor. It's pretty funny. So, all right, Butler, break down the plot.
All right. So basically, the plot of Frighteners is after an accident that kills his wife, Frank Bannister has the psychic ability to allow him to see, hear, and communicate with ghosts. After this accident, he has given up his job as a very successful architect and he's begun a life as a con man, conning people into believing that their houses are haunted with the use of his new ghost friends, played by Chai McBride and Jim Fife. 6 years after his accident, Frank discovers that most of the people in his town are being killed by a mysterious force that is squeezing the life out of people. Seemingly healthy people are dropping dead in the middle of his town for seeming no rhyme or reason, up to 26. After Frank helps a young wife and husband, Lucy Linsky and Ray Linsky, he sees a number on Ray Linsky's head indicating that he may be next. Frank mysteriously happens to be near almost every murder and becomes accused of the murder. So being accused of the murder, Frank has to discover who this culprit might be. Come to find out, the mysterious spirit killing everyone is Johnny Bartlett, a serial killer from the 60s who killed over a dozen people at a nearby hospital with the help of his girlfriend, Patricia. Patricia is helping now the spirit of Johnny continue his killing spree, trying to become the world record holder of serial killers, even though he's kind of cheating with the whole spirit thing.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. He was like, got me a count of 20. It's like, well, not for nothing, but you're dead, so that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, you're cheating. You can go back to hell and tell all your friends, but whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of BS.
So Frank has to try to find a way to stop a spirit from killing people, which sometimes includes killing himself and trying to attack him as a ghost.
That's good.
Basically, the whole movie is a horror, comedy, action, thriller. It's got a little bit of everything. It's a very out there movie.
I don't know why it's rated R. It's ridiculous that it's rated R.
I would say that the reason it's rated R is some of the violence in it. I'd say the attack on the hospital, and then when they, spoiler alert, when they blow off Jeffrey Combs' head.
Well, I have that note, Butler. They couldn't get the PG-13 rating. So since they were getting the R rating, they initially had him getting blown off in the chest, getting shot in the chest. But since they couldn't get the PG-13 rating, they just went back and did the headshot.
I think the headshot's awesome.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't mind that it's rated R. I have seen a lot worse.
Oh yeah, I don't think they ever use the F word. I don't think they ever really swear.
Yeah, I just saw something. There was just a movie out that had like 3 Knives Out. They said the F word 3 times, and it was a PG-13 rating.
Did they do it 3 times?
Yes.
I know they did it once.
I don't understand that. I mean, what's the rules now? What's going on here? I mean, whatever. It's fine. I mean, my daughter's 13 years old, and I'll take her to a PG-13 movie. She already knows the swears. That's fine. I mean, what am I supposed? That's okay, but it's just, are there any rules? I know we're getting on a tangent here, but if anyone out there, this is an old doc and it's probably been updated, but there's a documentary called This Film Has Not Yet Been Rated, and it's about the MPAA and how they go about rating. And you should check it out because when you watch it, you're just like, there's no rhyme or reason. Yeah, this makes no sense.
I mean, I get why you have the film ratings, and I get that they're somewhat important. Mm-hmm. I think their importance is inflated, personally.
Yeah, agreed.
But
society changes too.
Society changes, so they got to change with it. So if Knives Out has 3 F words in it, but they're not used in a sexual connotation, I get that.
Right.
Because, you hear people swear all the time. You stub your toe, you're going to swear. I mean,
we get people that swear in front of their 2-year-olds, 3-year-old, 4-year-olds at the theater.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah.
I mean,
whatever. We're not here to talk about that, but
yes, it's a very tame R-rated film.
Agreed.
Even when Jeffrey Combs does get his head blown off, it's very cartoony.
Absolutely.
It's done as a comedy bit. It's clearly animated. It's fun. I like because basically Patricia Bradley is going to shoot Frank to save her boyfriend. Cocks a shotgun. Frank ducks. Milton, played by Jeffrey Combs, is behind him. Looks in shock as his whole head gets blown up by the shotgun, but his ghost head still stays put on his body and just has a shocked expression. It's very Looney Tunes, but I really like it.
I got you. One of the things I didn't know about this before that I've discovered now was that this was originally planned as a Tales from the Crypt feature. Like it was a script written and it was going to be just basically like a feature within the Tales from the Crypt world. Like, how they have, what's the one with Dennis Miller? Bordello of Blood.
Bordello of Blood, yeah.
And what was the Demon Knight? Demon Knight's actually pretty good.
I like Bordello of Blood. I like Tales from the Crypt quite a bit.
I like Demon Knight better than Bordello of Blood.
Yes.
Because Angie Everhart really bothers me in Bordello of Blood. Come here, lover. Like that nonsense. Like whatever. One time you say that is fine, but she just kept doing that. But whatever, regardless. But Demon Knight's actually an interesting story. What was the other one? There's only 2, right?
I believe there's only 2. The rest of them are all part of the series.
I know they have the Tales from the Crypt, the vignette ones. Is that a Tales from the Crypt, or am I thinking of something else?
They have
those are full, but these are full movies. These are full. Demon Knight was a full movie.
Demon Knight and Bordello of Blood were full movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Demon Knight's actually pretty good. That's actually might be a good one for us.
Oh yeah, I would say that's forgotten because everybody puts like I see Bordello and Blood on TV all the time. I've seen Demon Knight once.
I gotta think Bordello of Blood didn't do business. I don't know why we're talking about Bordello of Blood, but I don't think it did business.
We're talking about Tales from the Crypt now.
Well, anyways,
I can talk about Tales from the Crypt.
So this was supposed to be a Tales from the Crypt feature, but Zemeckis, who's the producer on this, or one of the producers, liked the script so much that he wanted to make it he wanted to be on its own.
I did notice that's the first time I've realized that Zemeckis is part of this movie. I never
really. Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed, and you kind of get that feel of the movie being a Zemeckis film almost
because it's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got a lot of the hallmarks of that, and it's got Michael J. Fox.
This is true. So there is a lot of stuff I like about this movie. The score is memorable. You hear the score, you know it's the Frightener score.
Oh man, as soon as it starts up, it's like you know the exact kind of movie it is because you have an elfin score playing creepy, fun, spooky, and it's like that's exactly what this movie's gonna be.
I like the location. I know it was shot in New Zealand and it's supposed to be like in America, but it actually reminds me of the Astoria town, the town of Astoria and Goonies. It actually feels like that kind of town.
It definitely feels like a small coastal town.
Yeah.
It does look like anywhere in coastal America.
But rewatching it, and when I watch it now, I'm just trying to kind of with a critical eye a little bit. Was the stuff that jumped out to you that you couldn't give a pass this time around?
Well, can I answer that question with a question for you?
Oh, go ahead. Go for it.
So you had talked about, before when we were going to do Frighteners, I think we were both excited for it. So I think we both really like Frighteners. But you talked about how the special effects were really good and how they probably still hold up. I warned you maybe they didn't. What is your opinion now that you've seen it?
I think some are dated, but I think some still hold up. I will say like the shot, all the ghost stuff, when they're interacting with the ghosts, I think that holds up. I think that still looks good. I will say like the Jeffrey Combs shot when he gets blown off, that doesn't hold up well.
It's very animated, but I think
maybe on purpose
because it's like Looney Tunesy. Yeah, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
The stuff with the Grim Reaper is probably another like that's you kind of
when he's in the walls. That's what I was afraid of. That's because I had a clear image of that. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, that does not look good. No. But when he's the Reaper, yes, it also does not look good. It looks like a video game. It's dated.
But that's just what you have available.
What you have available. Yeah. I think he still looks. I think the design of the Reaper was still really cool.
No, I think you're limited to what you can do. So I don't hold that against it. What I will say was really good was when he was in the abandoned hospital and they kept going back and forth between the past and when they were there in the present. I thought that was really well done. Still well done and still held up big time.
I was also impressed with that. Yeah. I wondered if they used one set, all right, here's our day of the hospital being open, or a couple days of, all right, Johnny Bartlett's attack, Michael J. Fox walking through it. Now we're going to do another couple days of we destroyed the crap out of that set.
Right. I mean, they must have done that.
I am always really impressed when you take two sets. Like we talked about it during 1408 with the hotel room, being able to create the different sets exact or do one set that you destroy over time.
Right.
And we mentioned it, not on this podcast, but when we were watching Rise of the Skywalker, we talked about, how much work must even go into plate shots of that stuff like that.
Right.
When Rey's going through the Star Destroyer, you have to build your area, design it, and then break it down. Right now, what would this look destroyed? And I'm always impressed with those kind of set designs.
So other than the effects, what else maybe kind of jumped at you that you didn't really like? You kind of winced watching. I have something, but I'll go with you first. Actually, I have two things.
At first, I thought that Andie MacDowell was in this. So I think that they wanted Andie MacDowell and they got Trini Alvarado.
No.
I mean, she did a good job, but she's like very much like Andie MacDowell. So I was like,
they wanted Trini Alvarado. she was just off of Little Women. That's Little Women was like 2 years prior.
Maybe that's why. But me not really seeing her in much else, I was just like, did they want Andie MacDowell and got Trini Alvarado? Not that she didn't do a good job, but
Andie MacDowell was too busy doing Multiplicity.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Michael Keaton, yeah.
So, I mean that was one of the very first things that popped out to me. The other one was that the digital transfer didn't go over well, and I was stuck with that.
What do you mean?
So
you watched the Blu-ray?
I watched. No, I don't own it for some reason.
Oh, well, I own it. Oh, now I own the Blu-ray. Now I can stump my nose at you.
I think I got it on VHS, so I can't watch that now.
But the digital transfer, go ahead.
I rented it on my Xbox, and the digital transfer was grainy, but it's from 1996. That's fine. But there are blotches that look like almost like bugs on the screen in quite a few scenes.
Well, that's probably from a film print. They're probably just the film print they use.
I was like, come on, clean that up.
Get the Blu-ray.
Come on.
All right. So one of the things couple things. One, the interrogation scene when Bannister walks, when Dammers is like, he's probably long gone, and he's like walks in.
Oh, yep.
So when Bannister comes in and kind of turns himself in, and then Dammers interrogates him, the beginning of the interrogation is really good. Like, just he's like talking to him. You can see he's like almost
really
tearing
upset.
up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then they switch. It switches to a handheld zoom camera. It switches to like a handheld shot, and it goes in and out, and it's evident. It to me, it seems really clear that either this stuff was shot on a different day or a different time of the day, because Fox is different in that moment. Like his acting is completely, he is not in that emotional state he was in the first shot. And it just feels like it, and suddenly I'm just like, this is like different now. He's not, because he's like putting his hands on his face, kind of like, oh, don't, because in the first one, it's just him sitting there and he's just, his emotions all over his face. And even it looks different. The shot is set up differently, lit differently. And then they switch and it just felt like a different time of day.
What I would say to that is, and no, I'm just shooting in the dark.
Nice.
What it might be is that the interrogation has switched, even though basically Milton is, or Agent Dammers is running the conversation and running the interrogation. It's almost like now Michael J. Fox has control, just because Dammers starts freaking out and thinks Michael J. Fox is using his control. So at the beginning, it's Michael J. Fox is the center of attention. He covers his face, and now all your attention needs to be on Dammers. And the handheld weird camera angles and the change of lighting is to represent that now this is Dammers freaking out.
That's possible. Well, kind of with this, they shot it one way, and then they were like, "That's not interesting. Let's try this way," and then they just like that in the edit.
It's possible.
Yeah,
I'm just playing devil's
I'm
advocate. It could
fine.
have been a conscious choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of camera moves, I really did like the action scenes with the camera, the way the camera moved.
Yes.
Like especially the just kind of highlighting one moment when they escape from the jail and they run and the camera's with them and they're running and the camera's kind of in front of them, and then they stop and they go towards the background and the camera follows them, kind of like that action, almost that Michael Bay slight like shot. I like that shot. And that's actually, I shouldn't say Michael Bay, because that's actually a staple of the 80s and 90s, early 90s, that kind of shot. I enjoyed that. So the camera movements during the action scenes were nice.
I really like the camera movements. I love the beginning camera movement coming down from the sky into the house, which is clearly a set. But such a good looking.
And it's obviously a digital when you're going through the rat hole.
Oh yeah. I also like when Frank first becomes a ghost and he starts floating and starting to learn how to fly, and your focus is on him on the center of the camera, so the camera kind of moves.
Oh right. Kind
of like in a POV shot, like a reverse POV shot at him. It's very disorienting, but still really cool and wavy, and obviously it's on some kind of, I would imagine, zip line or something going down that hill. But I thought that was
maybe
he's
also a terrible driver. Like he is the worst driver.
That was my very first notice. Who's not pulling him over? I mean, there's this is the thing. Like, I get that he's disaffected, and he's kind of like all depressed, but he's also a douche, because you're not driving like that if you're not a douche purposely doing stuff like that.
Well, it's funny because he obviously not funny. He has an accident with his wife in the car because he's driving and not paying attention, and she dies, and you find out that she doesn't die from the accident. She dies because for some reason Johnny Bartlett's there and he
made her the first victim.
Right, for some reason. I would think the accident would change the way you drive, but no, he continues to cut corners and go over the grass and not pay it. You know what I mean?
Well, did he do that when he was? Now I'm thinking, did he do that when he was? I mean, he was driving fast when they got in the accident because they were arguing.
Angry. They were arguing.
Right.
Wouldn't you?
But did he cut turns and stuff like that when he's regular, or is he looking to get into another accident?
You think he's looking to die
now?
Yeah, maybe, because he is pretty hardcore depressed. So maybe that could be accurate. I don't know why I'm laughing.
And now it's sad.
So the whole idea of when they're ghosts, he tells Ray Linsky, who's Lucy Linsky's husband who dies, Trini Alvaredo's character, that, you know, you're an emanation now. Ectoplasm's gonna just come out all over you from your ears, every orifice. You're just gonna be dripping ecto until you get the tunnel again. You go away. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
that's true for everyone except Arlie Ermey's character. That's true for everyone except Hiles. He never has any ectoplasm coming out of him, and I'm wondering if he was there just like, hey, Arlie, listen, this is what happened. He's like, you ain't putting that shit on me. No, I will be fine. I'm not gonna have any of that nonsense on my face.
that could be the other thing that it could be is he says he's got 85 years left on his contract. He might be contracted to be a ghost, so he might not be decomposing because he's supposed to be there.
So you're saying he was assigned to the...
He's assigned to the graveyard.
Maybe.
The ghost is done.
Maybe, I guess.
Catch you later, House.
Hey! My tour of duty runs another 85 years. There's a piece of dirt up here with your name on it, Bannister. I'm waiting for you, you little maggot.
That's the one thing I didn't notice, because this is now, I've watched this numerous times. This is the first time I've really noticed how... especially with Ray, how decomposed he starts getting or
he
gooey,
goes bad,
gooey he gets over time. I never really noticed that before.
He does. He gets like worse, and it's only been a couple of days. Whereas,
like Stewart's got to have been from the 50s,
and he looks fine.
And he's goopy.
Yeah, but he's not as goopy as Ray
at the end. Yeah, and Cyrus is pretty goopy too, but nowhere near that.
Yeah, and they've been dead both for decades.
I wonder if it's because they accept that they're ghosts more than Ray.
I don't know. I mean, you're asking for like a deep dive into like the world of.
That's the thing
Frighteners.
is they make the world of Frighteners. They make the ghosts very interesting because they're almost like physical entities that we just can't really interact with, but they can kind of interact with us. Like they can get hit by a truck and a car because they're moving really fast and got a lot of heft. Like guns kind of like mess them up, but like we walk right through them and they can go through doors if they really try.
And they can move things. They can move things if they're angry, like in Ghost,
or maybe they really concentrate. Well, like in Ghost,
like in Ghost,
yeah. Well, Ghost has some very interesting ghost rules too. That's probably where they got some.
Yeah,
of
but
them.
the Ghost and Ghost rules, the ghosts in Ghost and those rules that they devise are part of the storyline of him learning how to be a ghost. In this, there is no true discerning rule set of rules.
Yeah, I would say it's whatever they want at the time.
Yeah, whatever's funny or makes sense. Or
I mean, there seem to be some like, all right, here's some rules we're gonna follow, but yeah, it's overall it's like what serves the story best.
Right.
That's what Ghost can do in this scene. I mean, I do like the fact that Ghost can kill other ghosts. I thought that was interesting.
Well, only with the sickle that he has. That's the only time he kills a ghost. He's the only ghost that kills other ghosts.
No, I feel like Hiles could kill a ghost, or even the judge
guns?
with the guns. Yeah, because when he gets shot, he gets hurt. Bartlett goes back and hides.
Yeah, but Bartlett,
he just doesn't keep going long enough.
He goes back to hide, but I think he could just blow him apart into smithereens, like kind of when like Stewart gets into the engine and goes in the middle of pieces and forms up again out of the tailpipe.
That car is not a ghost.
No, but
I feel like the ghost guns
I think only that's not a sickle. What is it?
That's a sickle.
Okay.
Reaper sickle.
Yeah, only that can kill him.
Do you think he got that from hell?
They don't say it, but maybe he stole it from hell.
Which is why he looks like a Reaper.
Maybe.
I really like the scene when Frank takes Hiles' gun and just blows Bartlett apart, and you see that face, and he starts smacking against the wall, the demon face, and he turns into Bartlett. I thought that was pretty well done, even in today's. It's still a little dated, but it's really well. The design is really cool, and I appreciate the design.
So, did you like the problematic rape scene that the judge has when he has sex with the?
Oh man, I forgot all about that. And I was like, oh man, mummy rape. Here we go.
Mighty fine woman. Good teeth.
Now put your hands on the podium. Down.
Judge.
They don't call me the hanging judge for nothing. I like it when they lie still like that.
But like, I guess that's why it's rated R as well. I mean, I like it when they lie still. It's like, when he said that, I was like, oh, can you cut that out? Come on, that's not good.
I do like the rest. Those cops are so quick to pull that trigger.
I love when they come out of the revolving door and they're dizzy and they're just firing into the
public.
Yeah,
and he's got a hostage. Why are you shooting at the car?
Yeah, the cops are little.
And their ammunition seems to be infinite. They put like 20 shots into that mummy. Don't change clips and then turn right back around at Frank.
I think this is one of those movies where it's, hey, it's a fun time. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
stuff.
Don't worry about it. I mean, then he gets shot by Frank gets shot by an Uzi later on, and he was like,
he gets just in the arm.
Shrug it off.
Yeah. Again, Dammers is the motivation is just kind of all over the place. You don't really know he's there to just determine that Frank's not who he says he is.
Yeah, I like Jeffrey Combs in this. I think he's a lot of fun. But again, is that the point? Is it the fun character, or did he have more to do with the plot in another version of the script?
I think that when Jeffrey Combs came on and took the character, I'm sure that all of his character traits are from Combs.
The hair, I know, is his choice. He thought that he should have like a Hitler-esque haircut to make him different and just like, right off the bat, this guy is not in the right head.
You can tell that the way he's playing Combs is somebody who is never comfortable at any point, in any moment. Never comfortable.
I love that scene in the interrogation when he begins and he can't decide whether he wants to sit down or not.
Yeah.
Or to look at Frank or look at the wall.
He doesn't know what he wants to do.
And it's fantastic. And he plays it so well. Like Jeffrey Combs is such a great character actor. And I don't think he gets enough credit for his live action stuff. Because he is so good. Like when Lucy starts yelling at him in the beginning and
he can't take it.
And he runs away. And he tries to assert his power over the sheriff just because he got yelled at by a girl. So now he's trying to reestablish dominance. It's just really, really good. But then you get the parts like when he opens his chest and he's got all the scars and stuff and he's chanting. It's like, why? What's your through line? What are you trying to do?
Well,
what are you trying to accomplish?
I think that's all discussions that either he had with Jackson or he had on his own and he just kind of incorporated them and they liked it so much. They're like, yeah, just keep it.
I just want to know, man. I want a Dammers spinoff where we find out why Dammers is the way he is.
I'm good. I don't need a spinoff. I'm good.
I'd be okay with if he appeared in another one, like just a different kind of movie and we just use the Dammers character again.
I don't think they're ever going to go back to this type of story. I don't think Jackson's going to go back to any kind of this storytelling. He's on to bigger and better things.
Is it better? Because he did Lovely Bones and the Hobbit movies. But I mean, Hobbit wasn't really his fault because they forced him to do it.
He tried to do Mortal Engines and he couldn't direct it, so he just wrote it. He tried to do another big time movie.
He should not do Mortal Engines.
I would.
And Lovely Bones, I'm sorry, is awful.
It's a good book, but yeah, it is kind of boring.
It's one of my fiance's favorite books, and then she was so excited to watch the movie.
Yeah,
she
the
really wanted me to really like the movie, and she's like, "What did you think of the movie?" And I told her I think that's one of the worst movies I've seen.
Oh, it's not one of the worst.
Really bad.
Okay, I get that it's boring. I understand that it's not good. It's not. It was a miss. It's absolutely a miss. It's not terrible.
I think Peter Jackson needs to go back to doing movies like The Frighteners, back to doing movies like Dead Alive. Go back to what
he will.
Made him. I don't think he will either, but he should go back to that. Look at Sam Raimi. He started to try to do bigger and better things, and he did, for the most part, succeed. Right. But then, later on, he's like, let me try that again.
Well, what he did,
like he did Ash
Drag Me to Hell.
Drag Me to Hell. He started to go back to that. Like, let's see if I still got it. And he proved that he did. Drag Me to Hell's really good.
It is.
Ash vs. Evil Dead's fantastic. I know he's working on a new one as well.
Who? Sam Raimi?
Sam Raimi.
He wants to do
another Evil Dead film.
Right.
He wants to write. He doesn't want to direct. I think he just wants to write it. And then he wants to get the reboot, sequel to the reboot as well.
Well, he's supposed to. Peter Jackson did. Well, he's doing docs now though. He did They Shall Not Grow Old, and then he's doing a Beatles documentary. I think it's in post production.
Oh, that's cool.
But he was supposed to do the second Tintin movie. Did you ever see the first Adventure of Tintin that Spielberg directed? You should. It's really good. I own it.
Absolutely want to.
I own it. It's really good. And he was supposed to do the second one, and I cannot remember for the life of me who was supposed to do the third one.
It was supposed to be Spielberg does the first.
Yeah.
Peter does the second. They both.
Oh, Peter, you're on a first name basis.
No, I'm on Pete. Pete does the second. Peter Jackson does the second one, and then both of them would co-direct the third one.
The first one, I'm sorry, but it's good. I mean, if you like Indiana Jones and you like adventure stuff from the 80s, that's exactly what Tintin is.
Would you say that's forgotten cinema?
I would agree that it was forgotten because nobody ever talks about it, and I bring it up, and everyone's like, "What?" And I'm just like, it's good. I like it. Anyways, so he's doing docs now, kind of like Cameron, who just does a ton of Titanic docs and promises to do 85 avatars, and you've never seen any of them. We need to know about the unobtainium.
Oh no, we need to know about the water of the planet.
Whatever. All right. Do you have anything that you else did not like about this movie, or anything that stood out? That
I've seen this movie. This is like my 7th or 8th time I've seen this movie, but I haven't watched it in a long, long time. I didn't think that. When I originally watched it when I was younger, I always thought that Stuart and Cyrus were hilarious.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were that funny. I was like,
yeah. They're all right. It's fine. Yeah, I agree. Did you know that this was supposed to be a Halloween release? Or no, Jackson and Zemeckis wanted this to be released on Halloween, but the studio opted for the summer.
Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Yeah, agreed.
It's not a big time summer movie. It doesn't play for every audience.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a lot of fun. And I haven't met anyone who doesn't like the Frighteners when I talk to them.
That's
but
true. I don't know anyone that doesn't like it. Well, I'm sure there's people that don't know about it.
Yeah, clearly anybody who's seen the Frighteners probably saw it because it didn't make a lot of money in theaters. They saw it on TV.
Well, let's ask this: why is it forgotten then? If we know everyone we talk to has seen it and loves it, why did we put this on our list? And don't say because I did. Why are we gonna put? Why was
Did
this
you
forgotten?
put it on this? I couldn't remember who put this on the list.
I don't know. Why is it
I know we
forgotten?
both like this movie a lot. Well, this movie, 1996, you've got Michael J. Fox, who's long been done with the Back to the Future franchise and hasn't gotten to Spin City yet. So he's kind of in between.
Well, this movie, not to cut you off, but this was his last leading role in a film.
I did read about that, yes.
Because he was just tired of being away from his family that he returned to the small screen, which is when he returned to Spin City.
Yes.
Now, mind you, I'm not really sure if he was already diagnosed with Parkinson's at this point. I don't know if that was during Spin City.
What I read, he had an idea that he had it. So
since Doc Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's what my wife was telling me, that he knew that there was something up since Doc Hollywood. So yeah, which, that's sad. That makes me sad. But anyways, so this was his last leading role. But go ahead.
So I think it's a little far from Spin City, where his career kind of started to take off again. A little bit too far after, the Back to the Futures and Doc Hollywood and stuff like that. I think that it doesn't play to a particular audience. I think it's really out there. I think it's weird, but in a great way. But I think stuff like his other movies, like Dead Alive, is great, but it's a cult classic. Meet the Feebles is great, but it's a cult classic.
Meet the Feebles, yeah, but this is like
it's definitely not Meet the Feebles.
This is almost like a lighter version or sanitized version of Dead Alive. Dead Alive is when the mother's trying to shove him back into her womb.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God! If you know what we're talking about Peter Jackson's earlier work, which he did a lot of horror movies, and the two of the movies that he did was Dead Alive and Bad Taste. Bad Taste was in '87. Dead Alive was '92. So about 4 years in between, he did Meet the Feebles. Those three films are. If you like really raunchy and you like really overt horror and overt comedy, overt just everything.
Meet the Feebles, though, is different.
Meet the Feebles, it's not a horror movie. Meet the Feebles is basically the Muppets that don't do Muppet things.
It's gross.
It is. It's disgusting.
If you like Evil Dead, Dead Alive is
Dead
like
Alive
him
is,
going, I can do worse.
He's basically killing zombies with a lawnmower. Like that's his weapon of choice. But then he did Heavenly Creatures, which kind of brought a more dramatic turn. It was about two teenagers who kill their mother, one of the girls' mothers. It's based on a true story. And it's just about them, and they live in like this fantasy world together. Kate Winslet's first big movie, Melanie Linsky's first big movie. Then he does the Frighteners after that. So it's almost like he did all these horror films, does the drama of Heavenly Creatures, which has a lot of special effects elements to it. And then from that, does also something that's almost like a mix between of both of them, which is the Frighteners. Yeah. Earlier Peter Jackson I find more interesting than Peter Jackson now in terms of what he does, like King Kong and Lord of the Rings is great, but that's not really my cup of tea in terms of fantasy or sure. I enjoy them, but I'm not really I didn't read the books, so I really wasn't into it that way. And The Hobbit, again, that was just
The Hobbit was a mess.
Yeah, so I actually,
but I don't blame him for The Hobbit being
no. Like they're accomplished films, and I'm not being the jerk saying like, oh, they stink. Not at all. I just I like a lot of his earlier stuff more than I do.
Takes more risks in the year.
I don't know. Whatever it is. I just prefer that way. But sure, go on doing big movies. I don't care.
But Frighteners is a fun type of film that you don't see anymore. It's you don't have Frighteners would be a rated R horror film now. It would be geared more toward the horror, I think, now.
This movie, the way it is back in '96, it would not be made that way now. It would be more. It'd be probably more serious.
9-year-old me would not have been able to see the Frighteners. I watched it right when it came out, and it was fine. Like, no swearing, there's no sex, there's no nudity. The violence wasn't really that crazy. Mm-hmm. My parents were like, "This is good. You should watch this," because it was like a good Spielberg-esque, Zemeckis-esque.
It's just scary,
fun. Yeah.
I
didn't even think it was too scary.
But I'm saying
then,
like,
if
there was any hesitation,
yeah. Nowadays, you wouldn't have that. There would be stuff in the Frighteners now that would be like too much for kids.
I agree.
Or it would be watered down, and it would be a kids movie.
Yeah.
These are the only two ways you could make it now.
Agreed.
Because of the studio system, the computer algorithms now wouldn't put out a movie like Frighteners. It would not compute. You'd blow up the system. Yeah.
Will not make enough money.
But But I think Frighteners has become a cult classic on its own. I really haven't talked to too many people who at least like movies that don't know the Frighteners.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a lot of people that aren't huge on movies, or people that were born after 1996 definitely don't know what the Frighteners is.
Well, who would you recommend it to then?
The people born after 1996 who would might maybe like,
I'd watch a movie past then.
yeah, or like, oh, I've never seen it. I've never heard of the Frighteners. It's like, well, you should give it a chance. It's very good. It's fun. It's funny. It's different. The special effects, although yes, slightly dated, do still hold up. They still do help to tell the story and drive it forward. And it's nice to see Michael J. Fox in a movie.
It's also a good movie night movie, I would assume.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's quick. Mm-hmm. I mean, the movie's an hour and 40?
110 minutes.
110 minutes.
I mean, if you're paying attention at the beginning of this episode, I said that.
I did. I said an hour and 40. I remembered.
There is a director's cut, which we did not watch, but you told me it was like 2 minutes.
From what I say, it's only 2 minutes more. So I don't want to spend $3 more on the rental.
I hear you. Well, I don't know what we'd be missing for 2 minutes. So, unfortunately, that episode is not available for the director's cut of Frighteners.
I do like a couple of the horror callbacks they do have. Like, I like when Patricia goes crazy with the knife and starts screaming. It's very evocative of the early 1970s slasher crazy psycho movies.
You talking about when she says she's in the mood for vivisection?
No, before that, when she's attacking Lucy in her bedroom.
Oh, right.
And she opens the door and she's just like, she's got both hands on the knife. Like, it's just completely like, you're not killing anybody like that. You're just going nuts. She's gonna like kick you. But it's just very evocative of like old horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I like stuff like that they added to it. And obviously the beginning scene coming down from the roof is very Tim Burton-esque with that house. I love when he sees the house as the ghost, like how ghostly that house as a place of evil. And it's like wonky and like almost a monster in itself.
Which you question the mother's choice to, what happened to her. You know what she did. You don't believe that she was a unwilling accomplice. You knew that she was part of it. So you go back to your house, which is on the property of the where this all happened, the abandoned hospital. Yeah, that makes no sense. Also, now that we're talking about the mother, so the scene where Lucy goes to Frank's house to I don't know why, goes to Frank's house to snoop around apparently, and the answering machine calls and it's the mother, and she's saying that she basically says something's up, talks to Frank about her daughter. That's only there for two reasons. That's only there for one reason, to get Lucy to come to the house.
I have the same thing. Right. I was like, why the answering machine message? Plot device.
Right. It's like she acts on the phone message like her and Frank have been in constant contact about her daughter. You know what I mean? Like that's clearly not what it is. It's only there so Lucy goes to the house.
Right.
So I didn't.
That's the 2-minute scene that we're missing from the director's cut.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. It didn't make sense, and I couldn't justify in the beginning of the movie why Patricia was so afraid. They play it off like she's so afraid of when the
opening
ghost
scene.
Right.
I think that's the first time he comes back.
That can't be the first time he comes back.
Why not?
Because he only killed 12.
Yep.
Then he comes back,
kills his wife.
Right, but he's there. She's there with him. She sees Johnny Bartlett, and she's the one that so he's been back for. Then after that, he goes on a killing spree of 20 more people.
I think you don't know how long ago that opening scene is.
That when his wife died.
No, the opening scene in the house where Patricia's getting haunted. You don't know if that's now the 6 years later, if that's the year that his wife gets killed.
I don't know.
Just to show that
it's not. It's not, because when Lucy goes to the house because the doctor can't make it, and she goes, she sees the burns on her neck.
She's got all the. Okay.
So no, that was present. So I can justify it if you're telling me she was faking it, but they never say it. They play it off like she's afraid. And and I don't understand. I mean, okay, she's nuts or she's insane. Okay, fine. But again, I couldn't justify why she was that just afraid.
Okay. Yeah. Now that you bring it up like that. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
There's some timeline stuff that you're just kind of like, all right, it's a movie. Fine. Move on. I like it.
I'm also not a fan of the reporter that much.
The guy or the woman?
The woman.
Her
incessant need to blame Frank for all of it. I mean, and then her reporter dies in the museum.
Right.
Clearly Frank wasn't there yet.
Right.
Clearly it was some kind of weird heart attack and you're blaming Frank.
Yeah.
I just didn't get that. And then she clearly gets killed by a ghost.
And she's still blaming
Frank on the way to heaven.
Yeah, I know. She should go back down.
Exactly. I was thinking that too. I was like, she's a real vindictive bitch. I mean, she should be going not up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agreed. That was a little, but again, I guess the good outweighs the not so good in this. So we're okay.
I think
give it a pass.
It's a suspension of disbelief. It's just meant to be fun. So you can't blame it for that. I mean, you get her all kind of like wonky, kind of like Evil Dead witchy when she's going up too, which I kind of like.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of stuff.
Strings.
There's a bunch of stuff that I could pick apart, like in this movie. Like, why is Lucy with Ray? He's clearly a dick, and she's still with him.
But she even says he wasn't a good.
Yeah, and then when Frank runs over the fence, and he's like, "Here," he gives him the card, and he's like, "Just give me, bill me," and he rips it up, and then he leaves like, "I got your license plate number." He just gave you his card.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, "What a douche!"
I know. It's so.
Well, clearly he wasn't good with money because he squandered her $16,000.
Yeah.
I lost it.
And I never understood why nobody made the connection with carving the 13 in Frank's wife's forehead to the original murders from years ago. Like, that's never brought up. Like, is this a copycat killer? Never brought up.
Yeah.
And why they decide to do that physically, but after they kill Frank's wife, when they go on this other killing spree, they decide to spiritually put the numbers in their head.
I think he marks them ahead of time.
Right. But so why is she marking it there and the forehead physically?
She marks it afterward.
I know, but
because that's what they did when they were alive.
I got you. But why didn't she do that for the rest of them? So like there was like moving forward beyond
because again, now he's cheating and now he's doing it in public.
I don't know. Yeah.
Which means his record is not the same
it's
record.
null and void.
It's a ghost record now. Cut out those first 16. They don't, or the first 12. They don't count.
So we're really nitpicking now.
Well, I think now we have to. I mean, now we're at the what we didn't find so good. I mean, I think a lot of the dialogue's really good too.
The final note I'm going to have is I brought it up before. We already talked about It's Forgotten, but I had said before, I told you that Kate Winslet and Melanie Linsky were characters in Heavenly Creatures. They're on their pictures are on the box set that she's looking at when she's looking at famous murders in their town. Like their image is there. Like she's obviously not watching that. She's watching about the murders at the hospital. But their faces are there, so they're like part of that video box set that she was watching on that VHS.
So is that part of the same universe then?
Yes, of course, obviously.
Did you notice Peter Jackson's in the movie?
I did. He's the guy that he runs into.
He's the punk guy that he runs into on the street.
I did notice that. Yeah.
I was like, that's the guy.
I was gonna watch. I told you this. I was gonna watch the behind the scenes stuff, but they were 3 hours and 45 minutes long, and I was like, no way, that's not happening.
Yeah, Phil could have given you a lot more facts, guys, but he chose not to.
I wasn't that dedicated. I apologize. I was tired. All right, so yeah, I mean, I'm good. I mean, if you got other stuff to say, do you have other stuff to say?
No, I mean, we kind of closed it up now.
I think everyone's probably seen this movie.
Are you saying this is a bad choice for Forgotten?
No, I mean, I think there's really it's a good movie, and the fact that we were nitpicking it is just kind of trying to find something to not like about it.
Absolutely.
So it's I don't like to do that. So even though we just did it,
I think we only did it because we just spent we were just talking about what we liked. So
yeah, no, I get you.
But I think a lot if you listen to this and you're a film fan, I think clearly you've probably seen this film. But if you're listening to us because you are getting into film, or you're younger, maybe in film school, or college or high school, and you're like, oh, I'm really interested in film, this is a good film to go back to and watch.
For what reason though? Like why?
It's a style of film you don't see anymore today. It's got a nice mix of genres that don't happen very often. You've got Michael J. Fox as an unconventional leading man. He's not necessarily your tall, muscle-bound guy. He's not your noir kind of dude. He's not your Keanu Reeves type. He's just a normal dude.
Normal dude.
Just your average guy who gets caught up in this weird, zany world.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of fun.
I would say, even though we nitpick the story, I would say the story elements, I would say there is some good stuff within the story in terms of organic storytelling on what happens.
Yes.
The premise is really good. The premise is an interesting one.
It's a pretty tight story too. It doesn't branch off on a whole bunch of meandering storylines that don't do anything for the plot. The
effects are good, even though we did talk about they're somewhat dated, but the ghost effects still hold up. And especially, like I said, when they go from past to present,
the set,
in the hospital is really well done.
Awesome.
Set design, the look of the whole production looks good, and I think that has to do with the fact that it was in New Zealand. It's doubling as an American town somewhere. It does have a unique look and a unique feel that you just don't see over in the States. So I think that's probably something that, if you're over in New Zealand, you could probably go for it. But if you're in America, you're not really going to go do that. So
I think also if you're an actor, Jeffrey Combs is someone to watch in this movie.
You should also check him out in Reanimator.
Yes.
I think it's Bride of Reanimator is the second one.
He makes a lot of choices that are very interesting and really service his characters, but you can tell he puts a lot of effort and work into what he chooses to do that service the story as well.
It's a bit unfortunate that he's not in a lot of bigger movies, like where he plays a character actor in a lot of bigger films. I think he would have done well for whatever the reason. Maybe just not interested in that, or people just didn't, just kind of didn't get that chance. But he still he's had a very successful career, so it's not really.
He's great on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, here we go.
The emissary of the
here's the
Dominion.
Star Trek.
He just plays a really good villain. Like the choices he makes are very out there and odd, but again, very dedicated to the role that he is in. I mean, I think he was only supposed to be on that show for the 1 or 2 episodes that he started on, and he ended up being on for like 2 or 3 seasons as this villain.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like he was like the ultimate.
So good. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the ultimate villain, but he was like the emissary for the villain.
Okay.
Basically. The herald, if you would. He had a title. I don't remember it. I have to rewatch the show. It's been a long time since I've watched Deep Space Nine.
So he does you said he does a lot of voiceover work?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Recently, he was the voice of Brainiac in the Injustice 2 video game.
Nice. That's good, I guess. All right. So check it out if you haven't already. Thanks for listening. Mike, why don't you tell everyone where they can find us?
All right. You can find us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com, where you can link to all of our newer and older episodes, all the past seasons. We're on season 4 now. So you got 3 seasons to watch if you haven't caught up.
Listen.
3 seasons to listen to if you haven't caught up. If you want to support us, you can also go to our merch store. There's a link to the page there. We have a couple of shirts, leggings, mugs, some fun stuff, stickers. Buy some stickers. You can also find us on social medias at Forgotten Cinema Pod. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. We post a new episode every Wednesday. And a couple days after that, we usually post a nice, fun little commercial as well that you guys should check out. We put a lot of work and effort into those. So I mean, you guys should look at them. They're pretty good.
Aw, well, we try to have some fun.
And hopefully we have a good one for the Frighteners.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't even thought of one yet. But join us next week. We're going to be doing the 2007 fantasy romantic comedy Enchanted, starring Amy Adams, Patrick Dempsey, James Marsden, Timothy Spall as not as Wormtail from Harry Potter,
and Susan Sarandon.
You're right, and Idina Menzel.
Yes.
When I was watching that movie, I was telling my daughters, like, "Oh, that's Elsa." Who? What? Blowing their mind. So, anyways, that's the Enchanted. We'll be doing that next week. Thank you for listening, guys and gals. Oh, that's terrible. So, yeah, that's next week. We'll be doing Enchanted. Thank you for listening, everyone. My name is Mike Field.
Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.
I didn't say my favorite line in the movie.
Well, you had your.
You don't drink, you don't eat, you don't go to the bathroom, you don't do any of that shit anymore. I thought that was clever.
There you go.
I like that.
Now you can put it on that. You can put that on the back end.
I don't know if that's a good tag. We'll see.